Hello, I'm Mario, and today I'm going to install a power distribution module on my Chevy Colorado. Now, power distribution module, that might mean different things to different people, but essentially what I need to do is I need to control accessories like lights, and I need to do that using a switch. And in order to manage all of these accessories, I need some sort of I need a fuse box, and I need relays, and it just so happens that a company that hails out of Colorado, the state of Colorado, this company, sTech, provides these solutions, and there's other solutions out there. And I was looking at some of those ones that have solid state, full-on electronic ways to manage what a mechanical relay would manage otherwise. And so long story short, this is what I want to go with. I want to go with the old school relays and fuses. And so sTech puts that all together into this what I call a power distribution module. So this is the module itself, and inside are relays and actually the fuses also. So the neat little wiring harness here will make it easy. There's also a switch. In this case, the switches I have, there's 6 switches, and they're illuminated, and these will install into my center console. So not only is this a complete system, but it's also customized to fit into my center console for the Chevy Colorado. So sTech makes they have different options for different vehicles, and obviously different packages for different vehicles. I guess the simplest way to explain the model that I got is this one has 6 mini switches to turn on and off 6 different accessories. And then you want to fuse the whole thing with a circuit breaker. So this circuit breaker is a 60 amp, and this actually came part of the kit too. So essentially your battery would connect to here, and then it would go out and connect to the power distribution module. In order for all of this to work, I'm going to need some way to access the outside of the vehicle and the inside. My situation's a little unique because I have my second battery, my auxiliary battery bank is actually inside the cab. So we're going to move on to that next. But at any rate, this is the product we're going to be installing, and I think the first order of business is to go ahead and drill a hole in my truck. I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is not a tutorial on how you can install a power distribution module or install relays or work with batteries or work with electricity. This isn't instructions on how to do any of that. I'm simply demonstrating what I did to my truck. And so because these are lithium batteries, that's why I have them inside my truck. I wouldn't install lead acid batteries, AGM, any other type of battery, but lithium is okay in my opinion. I have the magical device right here, and then as I mentioned, there's existing wiring harnesses. And so what I need to do is identify a space to install it, but I also need to identify the actual plug. So for instance, I need to connect this to the power supply to my battery bank, and that will be fused. So I need to have, so this is going to be something along the lines of this, right? So here I actually have a ground, and then another wire that I have here, this red one here. You would connect this post ignition, but I want this to always be on, so I'm going to give this constant power. I'll hook this up to my battery also, and this will also be fused. There was a fuse provided for me. This, I'm actually going to have this have access to the outside, because each one of the 6 accessories are going to be connected to here. So one switch will represent one of these wires. And so what I did was I need to locate this. I'm going to find a spot to mount this to my battery box, and I'm guessing right here in this space should work okay. So yeah, I think like right in here should work okay. And then so I have this circuit breaker here, and I guess I can mount that here, and I can feed the wire underneath here. The other thing I need to figure out is I need access to the outside, because these lights and accessories are going to be on the outside of the vehicle that I want to have control over. I already have one hole here. I'm thinking put another hole right here. So I was able to drill out a hole successfully, and then use the razor blade to cut out the insulation for the floor mat material there, that vinyl material. And now that I have the hole, now I got to seal it up somehow, and that's where this rubber boot comes into play here. So I'll go ahead and install that, and then I have some urethane there. So I'm just going to come in with the razor knife and open that vinyl up a little. First thing I'm going to do is essentially I'm going to put this boot through the hole here. And then once I have it inserted, it'll just be a matter of sealing it up. I'm gonna have to try to get that urethane from the outside. I don't know that I'm gonna have an opportunity to get it from the inside also, you know what I mean? So it's seated in there pretty good, and I've been checking to make sure that I put my finger in there and make sure that it's sealed up against the metal all the way around. And it is. I had to pull up on the insulation to get the insulation separated from the metal so that the rubber boot could get up in there. Now it's just a matter of getting some of that urethane up in there. Just going to open up this syringe a little bit here by nipping off the tip. Let's see if that gives enough. Yeah, that's flowing pretty good. Now I just got to make sure that I'm all the way around the circumference. There we go. Nice. And I can see the tip of the syringe up against the edge there. So the fuse and relay block has existing wiring harnesses, and I need to connect this to the positive of the battery, and obviously I'll have a breaker and I'll need to connect it. Originally I was thinking of running this cable underneath my battery box here, but judging the length of it, and there just wasn't a good place. So I'll still mount the box here on the side of my battery box, and then I just drill a hole towards the top here in the corner, and I can feed the cable inside the box there, and then I'll mount the circuit breaker inside the battery box. See, like all of a sudden it's going nice and easy.
It probably gets hot and gets gummy.
Just need to mount the circuit breaker on the inside of the box here. So this is open. It's closed circuit. Go ahead and open it. I'm not going to hook anything right here until I'm ready, but I can go ahead and connect the PDM to this terminal here. So I have my existing ground bar here, and I can mount this here, here, or here. So when my accessories come in through the hole I provided, I can bring all the cables into this area. I can terminate the ground here, and I can terminate the positive onto these wires here. I have these 6 positive wires, and then I'll have my ground. So S-Tech switch systems, they try to include everything that you need inside this kit to make it as comprehensive a kit as possible. So in my case, I didn't use this bracket right here because I mounted that fuse block, that relay box, to my battery box. And so it's not inside the engine compartment. So there's a bracket here for that. So another thing I won't be using, because I'll just create another one that's the correct length for my application, but it's this cable here. And this cable is to connect the battery to the 60 amp circuit breaker that they supply. So I have a really short distance between my battery post and that circuit breaker. So I'll just build out another cable for that. The other thing that comes with the kit is the actual switches, right? So this is a big part of it. And so these switches are designed to go inside of this component here, which I have removed. So I have already removed this from a previous project where I installed my GMRS radio and ran some cables down the center console. So I never reinstalled it because I always anticipated, well, putting some sort of switch system in there. And so at any rate, the point that I'm trying to get to is that I have another video where I was dealing with the interior panels and removing the center console, and at least not removing the entire center console, but accessing the center console in general. And so one of the last items in the bag is this fusible link here. Now the idea of them providing this is that you can plug this directly into your fuse box, and then the other end here you would just connect this to their trigger, their ignition trigger. In my case, I'm not going to be using this because I'm just going to go ahead and connect it directly to my battery bank and just have it on all the time. I want these specific accessories to be available without the key, without the ignition being turned on. The other thing they do provide is some zip ties. Like I said, they try to make it as comprehensive as possible. So they do offer some nuts and bolts for the bracket. I'm going to guess that this self-tapping screw is for their ground lead. And so when I say ground lead, what I'm talking about specifically is the power distribution module's chassis has a little ground. They have a flat washer. I got one flat washer, one hex key. So I got this Allen wrench here, and I'm guessing it fits inside one of these little screws here, and lo and behold, it does. I guess this is what braces the switch. It screws in here. So what it does is, obviously the switch is going inside here, and you have to secure it by placing the screw here in that direction. So considering the size of these washers here, I'm going to have to drill a very tiny hole right here, and it's going to have to be in a very, very specific place. So I'll have to transfer this. I need to create some sort of layout here, use some sort of template. So if I recall correctly, you can download templates, but I don't know how I'm going to, if I have the template, do I put the template in here and then try to drill this way? Or do I place the template on the back? So I'm not sure what the proper solution is as far as transferring this onto this piece and then cutting this out. And then the other concern is if these screws are long enough, the hex head on these is not very large. The washer is not very large. If I have to put a second fender washer here, then I don't know if the screw is going to be long enough and I have to find a replacement screw. So securing this is going to be a chore. So let's see what we can come up with. I want to make sure that I don't remove material that I need to actually mount the switch where the screw fastens to the switch. And so what I did was I put some tape down and started a layout working from the center out to the outside edges. And this is the space that I will remove to accommodate the terminals. And one thing about it is I'm gonna have to cut all the way out to where the radius is because I need almost a full inch of width. So we'll have to see how that goes trying to cut this out. So we're here inside the cab, and I think what I want to do is start removing some of these side panels here, at least this one, and I don't know, maybe this one. So I think the first thing I want to do is get this one here off, and I think I can just pry it off. I don't think this one's going to be too much of a problem. Well, maybe I should check out my video and see where the clips are. If I wanted to mount another accessory, I have this little backer plate here that I could actually screw into. So that's what this is. This white piece of plastic is something I did. At any rate, here you can see there's access to get inside the console, and I think what I'm going to do is use this little hole here so that I can get back into the center console. So I have this wire here, and this is what I need to run through the center console and connect to the actual switch panel. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, there's this little modular plug. I'm just going to maybe run it back in through here and then somehow up into this area. In your case, you're likely to need to penetrate the firewall somewhere, and there's a couple spots. There's one over on the driver's side where the cable release, the hood release, there's a cable that goes through the firewall, and so there's a spot that goes through there. As fat as these wire harnesses are, there's several wires inside, and you can just kind of get it to lay flat. So this is the forward part, and I think I'm just going to run the cable in this direction here. And there's enough gap between this plate and these mounts for that cable. So I'm going to snap it in. So I have to terminate this post-ignition trigger wire here. I have constant power on the battery bank here, and so I just got to find a fuse. So as I explained before, this is something that you would probably want to install on one of your accessory circuits, meaning that you turn the ignition on, and that's when there's power. So S-Tech obviously provides the power distribution module. So this box that houses the fuses and relays, the chassis for that box has a little chassis ground, so I'll just go ahead and connect it here to my ground bus bar. And then the only other thing I have to connect coming off the S-Tech are the 3 positives going to each of my accessories. So each one of these represents one of the 6 switches. These are the wires for all of my accessories, my various lights. So I brought the ground and the positive for all my accessories in here. So that's what this bus bar here is. So S-Tech's wire harness comes pre-terminated with these insulated butt-end connectors. I used one once, I crimped it, and I gave it the tug test, and it didn't work. So, you know, I cut them all off, basically, what it boils down to. So I don't know if I don't have the correct crimping tool for the insulated connector or what, but at any rate, so what I have here is I just used non-insulated butt-in connectors, crimped them all. Over on the ground side, I just have these ring terminals, and these are all my ground wires. All right, so I think I have my accessory lights properly terminated, properly spliced, properly connected. These are the wires, the 6 wires for the switches, and then I just put some electrical tape. I wish I had some cloth tape, but I don't. And then got some wire loom. I got my grounds here, so these grounds will connect here on this bus bar, and then I'll link that bus bar to my main 300 amp bus bar. This goes directly to the chassis right outside the door, and I got all the labels for all the different wires, so I know what they are. These are just the ground. I even have labels in here, inside here, so I know which wires go where. So, all right, well, the next step is I'll go ahead and I'll take this box off, and then I'll feed this in the cavity underneath my battery box, and got the ground still to connect, and then this terminal here, I put the ring terminal on and some heat shrink. This is cut down. This is that post ignition. I'll put it right here. But I got all my grounds in here. I have it connected to the main ground bus bar. Got the cables out of the way. So this is how I want it to look. So hopefully I don't have to pull it apart and troubleshoot it when I start testing the circuits. So wish me luck, right? But okay, yeah, so the last thing I need to do is I got this positive cable here, this positive cable, and I just need to put a couple lugs on it so that I can connect it to the circuit breaker. So that's what we're doing next. Okay, so it's been a while since we've been back inside the battery box, but essentially this is what I was talking about, the circuit breakers. I got the cable there mounted. I went ahead and closed the circuit, and spoiler alert, everything works. I already tested it, but there's the cable and maybe a couple more zip ties, but yeah, here's the switch panel here. So this would be my marker lights on my rack. So yeah, they're working. There's the red ones. So the sun's kind of shining, but anyway, they're all working. And then yeah, I got my markers, and then over here is going to be my spot. This one I haven't installed yet, but these are my amber fog lights. But I got my marker and my front forward facing spots on now. There's my forward facing spotlights are working. I tested them all, they're all working. I just got to get the ambers installed. So Nuthouse Industries has been helping me out with all this rack and stuff. Awesome stuff. Anyway, I'm really happy about this. Now it's just a matter of buttoning that in. As far as snapping the front console, a couple more zip ties, do some dressing in here, but I think those are some final resting spots for those components. I'm thinking it's coming together. So hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was kind of hard for me to grab the camera and do all the filming for it, but I think I managed anyway. Did the best I could. But yeah, more videos to come. Always more projects. Till next time, take care. Bye.